welcome back. So what I got going on today is a little bit more rear frame stuff. So right now what I got going on is I'm working on the wishbone link and some of the cross members here. And so far what I've got done on the wishbone link is I got this inner tube. I had to have it machined down a little bit. I got it threaded, and then that's pretty much it for this. So what I got going on with these clamps right here is this just kind of holding this from going front to back, so I can very roughly check my travel right here, kind of make sure I'm going to have enough for whatever situation I run into. Really, it shouldn't go any lower than the jack stands, because that's how far the shocks go down, so not really worried about that anymore. I'll probably give it another ½ an inch or so right here, but it should be good right there. So right now I'm just going to tack in this cross member right here because I keep bumping it around. So now that I got my brackets all tacked in, and I got my slider tube perfectly centered, I'm going to start measuring for these tubes right here, get those cut and roughed in. So I'll get those cut and we'll see where we're at. So I will be going over what I have into this wishbone link later in the video. I'll write it all down and then I'll kind of go over it. Alright guys, so I just got the wishbone link all wrapped up. Got the brackets welded on the frame, and the axle's completely done. All that's done. So right now I just got it set up and check it out. Got the springs back on it. Just kind of going through and making sure everything's going to be 100%. So that was kind of the last piece of the puzzle for the axle and suspension. So now I'm going to take the axle back out and have that powder coated. Got to take the bars back down, take the rod ends out and stuff, and also the wishbone link, and get that all powder coated. And then I can get it back, get my third member in, get my engine and trans in, and then I can get a drive shaft measurement. There's still a bit to do for the frame. I got to tie in the rear, and then box in the front, and then run some tubing and whatnot for the battery and trans cooler. So now that's all done and everything, I'll go over exactly what I have into it. That way, if you want to do something like this, you'll know what to use as far as brackets and tubing sizes. Alright, so I haven't showed the engine in a little while, but there's a lot of progress that's been done to that. There it is. Pretty much ready to go. Just got this oil pan done. Had Nick help me get these bungs welded in for the turbo drains, and those turned out awesome. So I'm pretty excited that the wishbone link is finally done. I'm really happy with my decision to go with the wishbone style instead of the panhard setup. It's probably quite a bit more work, but it's definitely worth it in the long run. It's definitely a more solid setup. It looks a lot better too. I mean, I don't think it looks any better than that compared to a regular old panhard. Like, that looks awesome. If there's one thing that I'd like for you to get out of this video, is just take a look. That was my welding table. Don't let the environment dictate your success. Yeah, it takes a lot of money to have all the tools to do it, but as long as you have the drive and motivation and the image of what you want in your head, all you got to do is do it. It'd be a lot nicer to have a full shop with all the tools and, you know, all that stuff, but it doesn't always take that. Sometimes when you don't have all the tools you need, it forces you to think and be creative, which isn't a bad thing. So just remember that when you have something that you want to do, just do it. Get it done. Quit making excuses for yourself. Have fun doing it. So I've recently gained an infestation in my barn, and I'm not really sure what to do about it. Got some chickens in here. Just, you know, making dust everywhere. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate. Oh, and another one. Yep, just make yourself a home. Alright, so if you're wondering what I have into this wishbone link, I'm going to tell you right now. So first off, 3 3/4 rod end kits, just like this. So everything I'm getting is from Barnes 4x4. They have really good high quality parts. The cuts and everything is just top notch with them, so I either go with them or rough stuff most of the time. Occasionally ballistic, but not very often. So the next thing that you're going to need is a 1-inch OD by 5/32 wall thickness DOM tube by 1 foot, and this is for your tube. I guess you'd call it a tube that slides into the other tube and allows for the articulation of the whole link. And the only thing that you got to do is thread one side. So if you get those dimensions, all you got to do is run a tap through it and it's good to go for a 3/4 rod end. The next thing that you're going to need is a behind the axle shock bracket. It's a 2-piece kit. You just have to weld the inner piece in to whatever width you need, which would be 2 inches. That's what the rod ends with the high misalignment spacers would be. And the only thing you'll have to do is cut it flat. And this goes on top of the axle. which is for this slider tube. The other two things that you're going to need are flat bottom shock brackets. These will go on the front of the frame, and these will basically be holding the link bracket in place. So for the main structure of this link, I'm using 1.25" DOM by 1/8 inch wall. And lastly, you're going to need 1.5" DOM by 1/4 wall, which will give you a 1" ID, which is where this takes place. This tube goes in here. And one thing I did was on the piece that's welded in that I'm actually using, I used a 1" hone and hone the inside out. And then I used a DA. Well, this has actually been machined down. You got to machine down the 1" OD tube. I forgot to mention. But after that's done, I used a DA sander to try and get a nice hone-like finish on this. And I just use this ball hone for the ID of this tube. So every situation is going to be a little bit different when doing this, because not all tubing is perfectly the same. So mine turned out to be roughly 0.99, about 0.99. And this was obviously slightly bigger than 1 inch. It was like 1.01 or something. I don't remember. But I ended up having this machine down to about 0.98. And that turned out to be a really good tolerance, I think. And also, while welding this up, it shrunk an actual link piece. So it actually made it even tighter fit. So I'm gonna have to hone that out a little bit just to kind of get a better fit. So all of my brackets and hardware and rod ends, again, I got from Barnes. And as far as the steel, I just sourced that from my local steel supply. They ended up being the cheapest option for me. So the sizing of the tubing, OD, ID, wall thickness, will be specific to what you need as far as using 3/4 rod ends. The length of tubing that you're going to need, I used about 6 feet of 1.25" and I think just over a foot of 1.5", but it's going to be specific to your application because everyone's going to have a different need, but roughly that's probably what you need. Alright guys, so that's going to do it for this video. I hope that information serves you well and helps you out. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.